the man who couldn't see the blessings in his house. There are people who spend their entire lives praying for miracles, only to reject the miracles that are already sitting at their own dining tables. Femi was one of those people. At 56 years old, he had what many men would consider a beautiful family. He had a wife, Kemi, who was loyal, hardworking, and respectful. He had 3 healthy, intelligent daughters. He had a stable job as an accountant at Suprema Company, where he earned a respectable salary every month. Yet Femi considered himself unfortunate. His reason? He had no son. 16 years earlier, when his first child was born, he had smiled and celebrated. "It's all right," he had told relatives who came to visit. "The next one will be a boy." The next child arrived. Another girl. Then a third child. Another girl. With each daughter that arrived, a little more bitterness settled into his heart. When doctors later informed the couple that conceiving again might be difficult for Femi's wife, due to fertility complications, Femi became even more resentful. In his mind, his wife had failed him. His daughters had failed him. Life had failed him. And so, instead of loving the children he had, he mourned the son he never got. The result was a home divided by pain. While Kemi woke up every morning before sunrise to prepare food, arrange her provision shop, and think about school fees, Femi spent his salary almost entirely on himself. He paid no school fees. He bought no uniforms. He rarely bought food. Birthdays passed without gifts. School events came and went without his attendance. His daughters learned very early that their father viewed them as disappointments. And children are sensitive creatures. Even when words are not spoken, they feel rejection. Joy felt it. Mitchel felt it. Little Sarah felt it. That was why all 3 girls clung tightly to their mother. If they had a problem, they ran to Kemi. If they were happy, they shared it with Kemi. If they needed encouragement, it came from Kemi. The woman carried the entire family on her shoulders. And somehow, she never complained. Not once. Not even when things became difficult. Business had been slow for months. The economy was difficult. Customers were buying less. Many families were struggling. And unfortunately, Kemi's small provision store was feeling the effect. One evening she sat quietly after closing her shop. She looked at her notebook. Then at her calculator. Then back at the notebook. The figures refused to change. The money simply wasn't enough. A painful decision had to be made. That night she called her daughters into the sitting room. The girls immediately sensed something was wrong. Their mother rarely looked so worried. Kemi smiled weakly. "My children, I need to discuss something important." The girls sat quietly. "You know things have not been easy lately." They nodded. "I may not be able to continue paying your school fees at Green Crystal School." The room became silent. Green Crystal Primary and Secondary School was one of the best schools in town. The girls loved it. But they understood their mother's struggles. Mitchel was the first to speak. "Mom, are we leaving the school?" Kemi nodded. "I'm afraid so." Little Sarah frowned. "Why must you be the one paying everything? Why doesn't Daddy help?" The question hung in the air. Kemi forced a smile. "My daughter, only your father can answer that." Joy looked at her mother. The lines of worry on Kemi's face seemed deeper than before. For a moment Joy's heart broke. She reached across and held her mother's hand. "It's okay, Mom." Kemi looked up. Joy smiled. "Put us in any school you can afford. We will still do our best. We will make you proud." Tears filled Kemi's eyes. Sometimes children become stronger than adults. The following term, the girls enrolled at Marble Primary and Secondary School. The facilities were simpler. The classrooms were less impressive. The fees were cheaper. But Joy entered the school with the same determination she carried everywhere. Success, she believed, was not determined by the building around you. It was determined by what was inside your head. And inside Joy's head was a burning desire to succeed. That was how she met Banky. Banky was 15 years old. Confident. Extremely intelligent. And unfortunately, extremely arrogant. For years he had dominated the academic rankings. Nobody challenged him. Nobody threatened him. He was used to being number one. Students admired him. Teachers praised him. Some feared him. Others envied him. But everyone knew one thing. Banky always came first. Then Joy arrived. And everything changed. The first term examination came. Students wrote their papers. Results were compiled. Teachers double-checked scores. Then came the announcement. The principal entered the assembly hall holding a sheet of paper. Students waited anxiously. The overall best student in SS1. The hall became silent. Joy. Gasps erupted. Banky's smile disappeared. The principal continued. Average score, 98%. The hall exploded with applause. Banky's average was 86%. For the first time in years, he was second. Not just second. A distant second. And for the first time in years, people began whispering. The mighty Banky had been defeated. By a transfer student. A girl. A girl from a struggling family. A girl nobody knew. Banky could barely contain his humiliation. But worse was yet to come. Unlike him, Joy was kind. Students who struggled academically approached her. She helped them. She explained difficult topics. She shared notes. She encouraged weak students. Soon, the entire class loved her. Banky watched all this with growing resentment. Jealousy began poisoning his heart. And jealousy is dangerous. Because it often convinces people to attack those who have done nothing wrong. At first, Banky merely complained. Then he began spreading stories. Nobody can score 98% honestly. She must be cheating. Maybe she has access to exam questions. Some students ignored him. Others listened. Before long, rumors were spreading through the school. Banky even approached some teachers. I think Joy should be watched carefully during exams. The teachers took note. Not because they believed him, but because they wanted to ensure fairness. When second-term examinations arrived, Joy received special attention. Invigilators monitored her closely. Teachers walked past her desk repeatedly. Some students expected her to fail. Others expected her scores to drop. Joy noticed everything. But she remained calm. She focused on her papers. One question at a time. One subject at a time. One answer at a time. Weeks later, results were released. The hall held its breath. The overall best student. The principal smiled. Joy. The hall erupted again. Average score, 98.5%. Banky, 84.7%. This time the gap was even larger. Banky felt the ground shift beneath him. The rumors had failed. The accusations had failed. The monitoring had failed. The truth was now undeniable. Joy was genuinely brilliant. As the years passed, Femi's resentment toward his family grew worse. The bitterness that had once appeared only in occasional words had now become a permanent part of his character. Whenever he looked at Joy, Mitchel, or Sarah, he saw only one thing. The son he never had. He did not see their intelligence. He did not see their kindness. He did not see their sacrifices. He certainly did not see their love. To Femi, they were reminders of his disappointment. Meanwhile, Another chapter of his life was unfolding elsewhere. Femi had met a new woman, named Mirabel. She was 32 years old. Beautiful. Outgoing. Confident. The type of woman who always knew how to make a man feel important. Femi had rented a comfortable 2-bedroom flat for her in another part of town. At first, he merely visited after work. Soon, those visits became daily. Then they became nightly. Whenever Kemi called to ask why he was not coming home, he always had an excuse ready. There is an important meeting. I have a workshop. We are preparing company accounts. There is a conference. The lies became so frequent that even he could no longer keep track of them. Kemi knew something was wrong. A wife often knows long before she receives confirmation. But she remained silent. Not because she was weak, but because she had 3 children to raise. She could not afford constant battles. Then one day, the truth arrived. Mirabel became pregnant. And months later, she delivered a healthy baby boy. The news transformed Femi completely. The arrival of the baby boy felt, to him, like the greatest achievement of his life. One evening, he finally summoned the courage to tell Kemi. She sat quietly in the living room while he spoke. There is something I need to tell you. Kemi already knew. Women often know. Still, she allowed him to continue. There is another woman. Silence. We have a child. Silence. It is a boy. Femi waited for tears. For shouting. For anger. For insults. None came. Kemi simply looked at him. Years of hardship had taught her how to absorb pain. The news hurt. But somehow, she had expected it. Then Femi delivered the final blow. I intend to marry her. The room became very quiet. Even the ceiling fan seemed louder. After several moments, Kemi simply nodded. If that is your decision, then may God judge between us. Those words unsettled Femi far more than any argument would have. But his excitement about the boy quickly drowned out his guilt. The naming ceremony was extravagant. Thousands of naira flowed freely. Expensive clothes. Live music. Food. Decorations. Photography. Guests. The celebration was magnificent. Ironically, it was the first time in years that Femi had spent such money. And from that day onward, Femi practically disappeared from home. Sometimes he stayed away for weeks. Sometimes for months. Sometimes he did not call at all. Kemi and the girls were left to survive however they could. Yet somehow, they kept going. Because strong women often continue working long after others would have given up. While Femi was busy celebrating his son, Joy was fighting her own battles. She was now in SS2. Academically, she remained unstoppable. Every examination produced the same outcome. Banky's frustration grew with every term. He had once ruled the school. Now he was struggling to keep up. Meanwhile, Joy's reputation continued spreading. Students sought her help daily. Teachers praised her dedication. Parents spoke about her. She had become an inspiration. One student benefited particularly from Joy's kindness. Her name was Bidemi. At one time, Bidemi had struggled academically. But Joy patiently coached her. After school. During breaks. Even on weekends. Gradually, Bidemi's grades improved. Soon she became the second-best student in the class. Unlike Banky, Bidemi felt no jealousy. She openly admired Joy. If not for you, she often said, I would never have improved this much. Joy would always smile. We rise by lifting others. Those words stayed with Bidemi. And soon they would change Joy's life. By the time Joy entered SS3, a new challenge emerged. The Senior Secondary School Certificate Examination. The SSCE. One of the examinations that would determine university admission. The examination every serious student dreamed about. The school announced registration deadlines. Students were instructed to pay all required fees. The total amount came to 80,000 naira. For some families, it was manageable. For Kemi, it was enormous. The moment Joy heard the announcement, she informed her mother. Kemi immediately began trying. She borrowed money. She begged friends. She sold extra goods. She reduced household expenses. She even considered selling some personal belongings. Yet the money remained insufficient. Every day brought fresh financial pressure. Mitchel needed school materials. Sarah needed uniforms. Food still had to be bought. Rent still had to be paid. Life refused to pause simply because Joy needed examination fees. Weeks passed. The deadline approached. Then came the devastating reality. 48 hours remained. And Joy still had not paid. That evening she gathered courage and called her father. The phone rang. And rang. Eventually he answered. "What is it?" Joy carefully explained the situation. "Daddy, I need help paying my SSCE registration fee." There was silence. Then came the explosion. "Why are you calling me for this?" Joy froze. "You people only remember me when you want money. Daddy, don't ever call me about school fees again." The line went dead. Joy stared at the phone. For several seconds she could not move. The rejection hurt. Not because she expected much anymore, but because somewhere deep inside every child is a desire to be loved by a parent. That night she cried quietly. Kemi cried too. Neither wanted the other to see. The next day at school, Joy looked unusually quiet. Bidemi noticed immediately. What happened? At first Joy tried to avoid the conversation. Eventually she explained. The registration deadline. The unpaid fees. The lack of money. The possibility that she might miss the examination entirely. Bidemi stared at her. "You mean the best student in this school might not write SSCE because of 80,000 naira?" Joy nodded. Bidemi was speechless. That afternoon she went home and told her mother everything. Her mother listened carefully. Then she asked one question. "This Joy you always talk about, is she really that good?" Bidemi smiled. "Mom, if not for her, I wouldn't be where I am today." The following morning, Bidemi arrived at school with her mother. Students wondered why a parent was visiting. The woman asked to see Joy. When Joy arrived, she greeted respectfully. Bidemi's mother smiled warmly. "My daughter has told me many things about you." Joy remained silent. "You have helped her tremendously." Joy smiled. "I only did what any friend would do." The woman shook her head. "No. Not everyone helps others succeed." Then she reached into her handbag. She brought out an envelope. Inside was money. Enough to cover the registration fees. Joy stared at it. She could hardly believe her eyes. "No, Mom, I can't." "Yes, you can." The woman interrupted gently. "Consider it an investment." Tears immediately filled Joy's eyes. "Thank you." Bidemi's mother smiled. "One day, when you become successful, help someone else." Those words touched Joy deeply. For the rest of her life, she would never forget them. And as she walked away that day carrying her registration receipt, she had no idea that the kindness she had shown one classmate was about to become the first step toward a future that would astonish everyone, including the father who had never believed in her. The months after the SSC examinations were difficult ones for Joy and her family. The examinations had come and gone. Now all that remained was the waiting. And sometimes waiting can be harder than walking. The future seemed uncertain. School was over. University admission was not guaranteed. Money was scarce. And life continued to present challenges. To support her mother, Joy took up temporary work at a shopping mall in Lagos. The pay was modest. The hours were long. But she welcomed the opportunity. Every naira mattered. Meanwhile, another crisis was unfolding at home. Their rent was due. The landlord had begun making visits. At first, he was polite. Then he became impatient. Then he became firm. The money simply wasn't available. Kemi tried calling Femi. The calls went unanswered. She tried again. Nothing. Days passed. Still nothing. Weeks passed. Still nothing. It was as though he had erased his first family from his life. Eventually, Kemi made a painful decision. She packed their belongings. The family left the apartment they had called home for years. They moved into a small one-room apartment in the outskirts of the city. The room was cramped. The walls were old. The neighborhood was less comfortable. Yet somehow, the atmosphere inside was warmer than the larger house they had left behind. Because even in hardship, there was love. And love can make small spaces feel large. One evening, after helping her mother arrange goods in the provision shop, Joy looked around their tiny room. Mitchel was studying. Sarah was asleep. Kemi was calculating expenses. Joy felt a mixture of sadness and determination. One day, she promised herself, things would change. One day. Months later, the much-awaited SSC results were released. The announcement spread quickly across Mabo Secondary School. Students rushed to cybercafes. Parents crowded around notice boards. Teachers anxiously checked lists. Everyone wanted to know how their candidates had performed. Joy checked her result. Then checked it again. Then again. She could hardly believe what she was seeing. Distinctions. One after another. 9 subjects. 9 distinctions. An extraordinary performance. A performance so remarkable that even experienced teachers were stunned. When the school administration compiled the statistics, an astonishing fact emerged. Joy had produced the best SSC result in the history of Mabo Secondary School. Not only that, her result ranked among the best performances recorded in the country that year. When she showed Kemi the result, her mother sat silently for several seconds. Then tears began flowing. Years of sacrifice. Years of struggle. Years of hardship. For the first time, it felt as though something beautiful was emerging from the pain. "My daughter," Kemi whispered. "You have made me proud." Joy hugged her. "No, Mom." She smiled through tears. "You are the one who made this possible." The two held each other for a long time. The results brought different outcomes for different students. Bidemi also performed excellently. She obtained credits in all 9 subjects. Her family celebrated. Her teachers celebrated. She had achieved something remarkable. But there was one student who could not celebrate. Banky. The boy who had spent years mocking others. The boy who had accused Joy of cheating. The boy who had believed he was unbeatable. When his result arrived, reality struck hard. He had failed mathematics. One of the core subjects. Without it, his certificate was incomplete. Without it, university admission would be impossible. He would have to rewrite the examination the following year. The news shocked many people. A few weeks later, Mabo Secondary School organized the grand valedictory ceremony. Students arrived dressed elegantly. Parents filled the hall. Teachers smiled proudly. The atmosphere was festive. Awards were presented. Certificates distributed. Speeches delivered. Then came the moment everyone had been waiting for. The school proprietor stepped onto the stage. He adjusted the microphone and smiled. This year, he began, our school has produced a student whose performance has exceeded every expectation. Applause erupted immediately. Everyone knew who he was talking about. Joy. The hall exploded with cheers. Students stood up. Teachers applauded. Parents smiled. The proprietor spent several minutes praising her achievements. He spoke about perseverance, hard work, discipline, determination. He described how she had transformed the academic culture of the school. Then he made another announcement. There is an international educational scholarship sponsored by a reputable NGO. The hall became attentive. Students who meet the requirements are encouraged to apply. Joy listened carefully. So did Bidemi. Neither knew how important that announcement would become. In the audience, Kemi sat proudly. She remembered every sacrifice, every sleepless night, every unpaid bill, every hardship. Watching her daughter being celebrated made all of it worthwhile. Then someone approached her. It was Bidemi's mother. The woman smiled warmly. Without saying a word, she embraced Joy. My daughter has told me many things about you. Joy smiled. The woman continued. You helped transform her academically. Then she turned to Kemi. You raised an exceptional young woman. Kemi felt tears forming again. The woman reached into her handbag. She removed 2 forms. These are UTME registration forms. Joy looked surprised. One is for Bidemi. She handed the second form to Joy. And one is for you. Joy's eyes widened. More. No arguments. The woman smiled. Consider it another investment. The months that followed were intense. Both girls prepared seriously for the Unified Tertiary Matriculation examination. They studied together, revised together, solved past questions together, encouraged each other. Exam day eventually arrived. Then the results. When Joy checked her score, she froze. 350 out of 400. An exceptional result. One of the highest scores recorded that year. Bidemi also performed brilliantly. 290 out of 400. A score strong enough to secure admission into many competitive programs. Their families celebrated. But another challenge remained. Post-UTME. Again the girls worked hard. Again they succeeded. Then came the admission list. The day they had dreamed about for years. Joy was admitted to study medicine and surgery. Her dream course. The dream she had carried since childhood. The dream she had protected through poverty. Through rejection. Through hardship. Through discouragement. Bidemi received admission to study computer science. Her own dream course. The 2 friends screamed with excitement when they saw the news. Even more exciting was the fact that they had gained admission into the same university. A few months before resumption, another surprise arrived. The scholarship program. The one announced during the valedictory ceremony. Thousands of students had applied. Competition was intense. The selection process was rigorous. Weeks passed. Then months. Finally, the results were released. Joy opened the email. She read it once. Then twice. Then a 3rd time. Her hands began trembling. She had been selected. The scholarship would cover her tuition, academic expenses, educational materials. Much of what her family could never have afforded. Joy immediately called her mother. Kemi listened silently. Then she sat down and cried. Not tears of sadness. Tears of relief. For years she had carried impossible burdens. Now, for the first time, she felt hope. Real hope. As for Bidemi, she had not been selected. Yet neither she nor her mother seemed disappointed. Bidimi's mother smiled when she heard the news. Your scholarship is well deserved. Then she turned to her daughter. And don't worry. She laughed. Your scholarship is me. Everyone burst into laughter. And so, as the university resumption date approached, two young women stood at the threshold of a new chapter. One was the daughter of a struggling provision seller who had never stopped believing. The other was the daughter of a grateful mother who understood the value of kindness. As the years rolled by, Femi became increasingly distant from the family he had once built with Kemi. What had started as occasional absences had now become complete abandonment. 7 long years had passed. 7 years since he had practically walked out of Kemi's life. 7 years since he had stopped behaving like a husband. 7 years since he had stopped behaving like a father. Meanwhile, his relationship with Maribel continued to flourish. Or at least, that was what it looked like from the outside. Their son, Nolan, was now 7 years old. The little boy had become the center of Femi's world. Everything revolved around him. Everything. Since Nolan's birth, Maribel had conceived again. This time she gave birth to a baby girl. They named her Sophia. Sophia was now 4 years old. Ordinarily, the birth of another girl might have irritated the old Femi. Years earlier, the arrival of daughters had filled him with disappointment and resentment. But things were different now. He already had Nolan. He already believed he had the son he had always wanted. And as far as he was concerned, that was all that mattered. Maribel knew exactly how to keep Femi emotionally attached. She made sure that she and her children received the very best. The best clothes. The best schools. The best food. The best medical care. The best toys. The best everything. They lived in an elegant rented apartment in a choice neighborhood. Femi had purchased a vehicle for Maribel. There were frequent shopping sprees. Weekend outings. Birthday celebrations. Luxury purchases. Anything Maribel requested, Femi tried to provide. Looking at them from the outside, one would think they were the perfect family. But perfection often hides painful truths. While Maribel and her children enjoyed comfort, Kemi and her daughters struggled. Femi rarely called. Rarely visited. Rarely sent money. Sometimes months passed without any communication whatsoever. It was as though Kemi, Joy, Mitchel, and Sarah had ceased to exist. Far away from the drama consuming her father's life, Joy remained focused. University life suited her perfectly. The brilliance she had displayed in secondary school followed her into higher education. This is the end of the first part of the story. Did Joy complete her education? Was Kemi able to overcome the numerous challenges she was facing? How about the love affair between Femi and Maribel? Did it last? How about Nolan? The answers to all of these and many more are in the second part of this story. Watch out for part 2 of A Father's Regret. Don't miss it.